The wholesomeness at the end was just an icing on the top from a perfect arc from the Tower of God webtoon series, filled with some amazing action, brilliant character interactions, and some god-tier artwork. The effort and the attention to detail put into this arc was phenomenal. So let's talk about it. Hello everyone and welcome to the Animezilia, and thank you for joining me as we discuss chapter 172 to 197, covering the Dollar Show and the Yuri Jihad story arcs from the webtoon series Tower of God. Now I may say this a lot, but this arc was one of the best arcs we've had from this series. And just because I say that a lot in these reviews is no discredit to any of the arcs that comes before it. It's just a testament to how much effort and how much progress each and every arc comes with, making me more and more entertained as the story of the Tower of God series progresses and as we climb up the tower. So much was packed into these arcs, and yet I couldn't stop myself from reading each chapter, as they all offered something to be happy about and hooked you in, making you want to read the next page straight away. So to start this video off, I want to start by talking about the dynamic between Rachel and Kun. This was a showcasing throughout this entire arc that made you laugh at just how outclassed Rachel was when going up against Kun's character. Kun had her in a position where he could kill her, but gave her a warning and said to Bam, "Look, I could have killed her, but I won't this time. Next time, I will." The stuff with the sweet fish was absolutely awesome. Such a power play from Kun's character, showing off that he is just in a class of his own when going up against Rachel. She does not stand a chance. That being said though, as the story progressed, we saw glimpses of Kun's character falling deeper and deeper into Rachel's control / trap that she laid out, as she persisted in challenging him to the point where she managed to find a weakness within Kun's mentality. And that weakness was also her annoyance, in the form of Bam the 25th. Every time Rachel offered information about Bam to Kun, Kun would bite like a donkey, trying to chase that carrot, accepting her challenges and her terms, when in reality, Rachel had no real information to offer up to Kun if he actually won. In the end, making it so Rachel actually outsmarted and got one up on Kun's character at the very end, before she ran away with Yuha. So I thought that was absolutely amazing. A great showcasing of, not progression, well yeah, progression from Rachel's character. I wouldn't say she developed, but I like the fact that she played a very small role, but then it paid off big time as she played the waiting game moving forward. There was a situation in where Kun showed a lot of overconfidence within himself. He knew that Rachel was weaker than him and not as smart as him, because there was a challenge between the two where they tried to just settle it fairly by making it so that it only was based on luck, with flipping a heads, and if it was heads or tails. This is simply put because Kun was thinking along the lines of, to make it fair, you can't beat me in the brains department, and you can't beat me in the combat, so this is all we have to resort to. Again, overconfidence, and that kind of bit him in the backside a little bit later on, as we saw when Rachel got that favourable situation at the end of the Hoaqin versus Bam fight. So hats off to Rachel. She said she would make Hoaqin her underling, and by the end she achieved that. Plus, realising that Bam was Kun's weakness and utilising that, giving herself an advantage in the final round because of the way that it was set up and structured with the challenge, as well as the fact is, also knowing Kun's weakness shows decent character traits and shows off that she's quite perceptive. And yeah, all in all, I haven't gained any respect for Rachel's character, but I have enjoyed what they've shown from her in this arc. I thought she was a great addition to the arc itself, amongst other characters, so I do have to give her a decent shout out. Now then, when it comes to this arc, there's no exaggeration in saying that these chapters were fire, and who knows fire better than Yeon. Her character is one that I've wanted to see great things from for a long time, and her segment within this arc was absolutely incredible. Showcasing her hidden power, making her literal fire, burning everything and scorching everything around her. Really making a statement while also showing that she has room for improvement in needing to properly control that power. I loved the segment in where one of her family members were asking her if she was afraid of her own power, because it contradicts something else that we see from her flashback, in where her peers are basically saying, "You're really powerful, you're great," when she's literally burning a man alive. Yet this parent figure that we see is kind of saying, be afraid of your power, because when you have too much power, you need to keep it under control. If you're not afraid of going out of control, then you will lose your focus. He says something along those lines, and I thought that was amazing. I also love the fact that she got a bit jealous of Yuri when Bam was acting rather friendly with her, and she starts to show a bit more respect towards Bam's character and grows closer to him as a friend, because now she's calling him Bam instead of Viole, which I thought was a nice little hint and detail that they added in to show a bit of character progression between the two. I still think she has a lot to show and a lot to kind of give off in terms of just her character in general, so I can't wait to see where they take her and how they continue to show her evolving. I will admit, with Yeon's character, it's very explosive when they show her progression and her development. She doesn't get a lot of screen time and a lot of showcasing of being able to control herself or information given to us as the reader from her character's perspective. For example, we saw her with Rak fighting against Beta, and she showed off a great, tremendous amount of showcasing there. And we see it here, but both times they were very big and heavy-hitting pieces of dialogue and action mixed together, where I find other characters within the series have more constant and yet steady progression. Yeon, I think it's just a bit explosive, but that's why we love that character. That being said, there's one other character from Team Sweet and Sour that I'm really looking forward to seeing improve in the next coming arcs. And that character is, of course, Wang Nang. Seeing how he looks very defeated in not being able to be of any use within the final round shows that his story is going to continue to evolve and develop, because the writing, the way that it's planned out, looks to be building up his character yet again, and you know what? I feel like that's going to be a lot of fun to read. I thought, saying that though, seeing how he managed to utilize the White Heavenly Mirror blade and unlocking and understanding that hidden feature where it allows the spirit residing within the blade to possess the wielder, I thought that was a great feat in of itself. So Wang Nan has shown some good sort of spotlight within this arc, but I mean, I can see where he's coming from. He wants to show that he can be a team leader and he can be of use to people and not just someone who needs protecting and saving all the time. So I would like to see how he develops and how he moves forwards, because where we're going to the Floor of Death, and they've said that there's not much Shinzu available there, or there might not be, because there's no Floor Guardian to make a contract with. I feel like Wang Nan could be quite useful in this situation, utilizing his Shinzu bombs and his other weapons that he's got, because I'd imagine those bombs already contain Shinzu, so he doesn't have to draw on Shinzu from each floor to use those bombs, making him pretty strong compared to someone who can only use Shinzu as their ability. Plus, I think he's got a few close combat range things going on. You get it. Plus, seeing his white hair appearance approaching at the end of a cliffhanger was a pure hype moment. So Wang Nan, let's see where you're going to go in the future. But moving on to some antagonists now. Let's talk about some of those. The character of Angel gave us a surprising backstory with a lot of emotion within it, giving us a story where her mother was trying to trick a ranker into sleeping with her, and did, but then that ranker from the 10 Great Households kicked her to one side, leaving her with a child in the form of Angel, in which we know at this present time. And this is where we learn how she got her powers, because obviously her mother conceived with a very powerful member of the 10 great households. I started feeling sorry for Angel's character in this moment when we learned this, as all she wanted in her flashbacks was someone to treat her with kindness and just want her around. Her mother clearly neglected her and didn't want her around, never showing any interest or caring emotions towards her own daughter. Her mother was so fixated on getting revenge and making her life easier by getting rich, getting famous, powerful, a status, that she just neglected her own child, even telling Angel to get her own food if she is hungry. So when I saw that Angel was asking someone to save Elliot, I found that scene quite powerful in the end, as it showed that Angel had finally found someone who she deeply cared about and didn't want to leave. Plus, we got a glimpse of Elliot caring about her, being that he showed some concern towards her well-being before he was facing Bam and ultimately lost. I found the story of Angel's character, yes, she's crazy. Yes, she's very angry all the time. She was even provoking Yeon into taking some action. Yeon could not win in terms of getting the moral high ground with Angel. And if Yeon didn't fight, Angel would ridicule her and provoke her, getting a reaction out. Because Yeon stepped up and unleashed that massive amount of power, Angel was like, that's it, those are the eyes of the 10 great family. You think I'm trash, you think I'm trash and I'm scum and all that. So Angel clearly got a few wires crossed in the wrong direction in her mind. But again, it all stems from her upbringing. And yeah, I feel like she's just a lost child that just wants someone to want her around, care for her and give her some form of kindness, which Elliot did. And there was a little hint between the two of them. But I guess those two can live happily ever after within the heavenly mirror. For the time being, of course, because that's where we last see them at. After Bam saves them. Funny that, isn't it? Now, I do have to apologise to Visconti for calling him and his other counterparts clones in my last review, as that is not correct anymore. They are all in fact siblings, with their own individual identities. The real clone, however, was rather interesting, and I loved her appearance in this arc. Her design is phenomenal, one of my favourite characters design-wise within the series so far. The final clone was fantastic, created from the hatred, resentment, and desires for revenge of billions of souls that Hoaqin absorbed. Her design is brilliant, from her outfit to her hairstyle, and I was a little bit upset with her interference in the final match, giving Bam a power boost, but she added a small amount of mystery to the final round, making us guess whether she will side with Hoaqin or whether she will side with Bam. So I like that little addition and that little air of mystery she brought to the arc itself. Love this character, want to see more, and hopefully she doesn't get absorbed, but I feel like she's going to have to, because the plot is moving in that sort of direction. Plus, she was stated to hold power that is equal to that of an A-rank regular. So if she does end up fusing, like I kind of am worried that she is going to, I feel like Hoaqin is going to become even crazier when that finally happens. And that will be a very dark, sinister day indeed. We got to see a little bit more of Anna's character within this, and she was very interesting. I already liked her design in terms of what we saw from the last arc, but her fighting style is so different that it makes the fight scenes with her in the second round a bit more refreshing. That bunny wielding a sword was hella creepy, and her magic liquid paved way for some tremendous character development from the characters of Team Boro. So for that, I have to give her a big clap, because her character didn't seem that relevant, but she played a good part in this arc, and kept me entertained in what I saw from her nevertheless. As for Hoaqin himself, this character was phenomenal. The backstory that he gave off was brilliant, showing us his younger self with a pure and honest goal of wanting to surpass his father, then being twisted into a goal of complete rulership and turning dark and sinister, becoming everything his father told him to become if he wished to surpass him. He took his father's words at face value and said, right, I'll become a demon, I'll leave. And he did everything to pursue the goal of overthrowing his father, who seemed like this amazing and strong, powerful figure that said to be on par with the leaders of the Kun and Ha family. Going to the next level to create a nation / kingdom or country, whatever you wish to call it, feeding them both stories and lies in order to create wars and fights between them, spanning over countless years, just to claim the souls of billions of people within them. All in the pursuit of power, tricking brothers and sisters into becoming one with them by creating a deal with the devil and offering their souls to that devil in terms of gaining the spell to combine different people together. All to be dealt with by a princess of Jihad. This man, no, this god is a former slayer of Thug, known as White. This character is brilliant. By the end of the arc though, we see just how the mighty has fallen. And honestly, seeing that he has fallen to the position of underling for Rachel, becoming Rachel's new sword, excites me, as we now see him rise once again in the future. This character is one that, with his personality, with his traits, with his persistence and tenacity for strength and power, he will rise once again. And I can't wait to see how they do that moving forward. He's obviously going to get his other counterparts back. I think he's missing 2, which is the clone and one other of his siblings. Unless they caught that person off camera, but I don't think they have just yet. Currently within him, he has David and he has Visconti and Anna. So he is still missing 1, and obviously the clone with most of his power of those billions of souls that he created and tried to absorb. Within the final battle, it really was a battle of ideology and beliefs, as this is a guy who is willing to sacrifice, no, it's better to say expects other people to sacrifice themselves for him. Where Bam is someone who can't let anyone in front of him die, going as far as saving his teammates and Hoaqin's teammates, even though that puts him at a disadvantage in the future. One line that I loved from Bam's character when he was talking to his inner power was, again, telling that inner power that all I see is a very cowardly person. Someone who is afraid to have someone or something ruling over him, as there is so much fear in your heart. I personally, after reading this line throughout this arc, kind of felt like there was a couple of similarities to that statement towards Bam's power, to Hoaqin's character as well as to Rachel's character. Hoaqin, more specifically though, is very prideful and very egotistical. I mentioned that he acts like he has a god complex, and this of course comes to the fact that he has the Slayer title in the past, and he hates being underneath anyone. He wants to be the one to rule. And we see that on his face when Rachel offers him a chance to become her sword. His expression was not happy whatsoever. But because of everything else, because of the blackmail situation that Rachel presents him with, then obviously he was kind of defeated, kind of down. He'd just been defeated for the first time there, and of course he was all over the place. This character, I've seen a lot of people say that Hoaqin is their favourite villain within the series. And after this arc, I can see why, and I can also see this character, although he's already been well written and well established, he can only keep improving as we go up and towards future chapters, and especially as we get to the floor of death. Imagine the souls he can absorb on that floor. That sounds like a great place for Hoaqin to go and visit. Now, earlier on I mentioned Team Boro, which consists of Mr. Boro, A.K. Williams, Sashi Faker, and Daniel and Rowan. I love these characters and the involvement they had, showing off some incredible emotion and feelings of regret, aka agonizing over the fact that she was a team's defender and it was her responsibility and she should have been the one to sacrifice herself because she was meant to protect the team, not Rowan. Sashi Faker not being able to sleep or forget his pain of not being able to help Rowan sooner, as he could tell that something was wrong with her but didn't know how to react or how to approach the situation. All of these characters are constantly in pain and agonizing over their actions and their feelings of helplessness in not being able to help/save their friend. In fact, Rowan's sacrifice herself was something that tied and chained this group to the Hell's train. They all felt relieved after finding out that Rowan sacrificed herself, which again in turn is their biggest feeling of regret. They regret the fact that they were happy that Hoaqin was gone and someone who created them a little bit of an annoyance and was an anomaly in Rowan. Obviously, they didn't have to sacrifice themselves. So, I love the kind of inner turmoil, the struggles that these characters went through in this arc. Daniel, in particular. His pain and struggles were almost heartbreaking as we learn that the final conversation between him and Rowan, in where she tells him that out of all of the others, she likes him the best. And that's why she didn't want to have Daniel die. She said she would sacrifice herself so that Daniel can live happily. She was someone who gave Daniel kindness, respect, and love and care. Daniel, in turn, helped her out no matter the situation, stayed kind and loyal to her, and that's why she grew those feelings. Daniel just wanted a chance to express himself because he never got a chance to do so while she was still alive. That's why he's struggling to bring her back. He goes and makes so many different deals and conditions with other characters to the point where he would do anything to tell her how he feels. He goes up to the clone and says, look, if you can at least tell her inside yourself that I love her, then that would be enough for me. He hates A.K. Williams, not for letting Rowan sacrifice herself, but for stopping himself from dying with her. Now, this character is one that I was kind of on the fence about liking, but now I absolutely love all of these characters that are involved. These characters, with the emotional aspect that they gave off, with the actions and the fight scenes they gave off, was all phenomenal. All of this helps build up their characters and giving them more purpose. Mr. Boro didn't really do anything in this arc, so to speak, but hopefully he'll have a bit more of a presence on the floor of death, as, again, I've reiterated, Shinzu might be a bit limited there. And if you're a swordsman, I can see you being very useful and helpful in just using your techniques and abilities without needing to use Shinzu in that regard. So hopefully we get some of that. Seeing Sashi Faker was awesome. His skills, his skill set, and learning the fact that he sold parts of his body to the devil for power emphasizes his resolve to defeat Hoaqin and to free his fallen friend, Soul. This character is one of the hypest characters we were expecting while going onto the Hell Train, being that he's one of the strongest D-rank regulars, and he did not, in any way, shape or form, disappoint in the skills department. Plus his design is awesome. Let's see more of that as we go through the next arcs. We do have to say farewell to A.K. Williams and Daniel, but they both served their purposes brilliantly, and I think they've rounded off their characters to a point where we don't really need to see them much more moving forward, so hopefully we get a bit more focus on the other two moving as we go forth. I feel like there's still a little bit more information to learn about Rowan and everybody else involved. Maybe we get a bit more backstory and flashback, but hey, we'll have to wait and see, I suppose. Now there are only 2 more segments left to go, so let's power on through them, shall we? No matter how much you tell me or say otherwise, I respect each and every one of you watching this video right now, but Yuri Jihad was using a Kamehameha from the Dragon Ball Z universe in her fight against the Ancient Observer. Just look at this. Look at this on screen and tell me that does not look like a Kamehameha charge up. Every interaction with Yuri Jihad was golden, from her fighting prowess to her fangirling over Bam and the wholesomeness she gave off at the end. This princess was so enjoyable and fun to watch, and the way she was written into the show was done excellently. They implemented her into the story in a very comedic and chilled aspect and way, but then they made it so relevant and so convenient for the plot that it made it take a break from the main action, but still give us some brilliant content in the meantime. Not so much filler, but you could call it filler in terms of breaking up the intense action that was Bam versus Hoaqin by giving us Yuri versus the train conductor / administrator. Those 3D glasses was a fun comedic aspect that I never expected to have a important plot device, feeding information to Rasfilia Jihad back at the Jihad castle or mansion or wherever the hell she is within the tower. We don't really know, but she's somewhere important. You know, it's the person that she visited, Yuri visited at the start of this season, saying, oh, I've got a way you can get on the hell train, and gave her the ticket because that boy you're looking for is there. I thought that was really good. I laughed it off as a bit of comedic element, but it came back to be really important. Plus, great stylish choice. Love 3D glasses. A little bit old, but this came out a while ago, so we're not going to criticize that too much. Now, I've always found the dynamic, comedy-wise, from Yuri and Evan really funny, and this arc was no different. That line about Yuri's head not just being an accessory, to me had me in stitches, amongst other jokes and shots of shade from Evan's character towards Yuri. It was just such a good dynamic between the two characters. The train administrator himself was a great addition to the story, giving the story a bit more of a darker vibe, making it a lot more sinister, and the actions that were made helped make the plot more interesting. Adding the bet with Yuri Jihad where her life was on the line, if Bam was to lose, then so would Yuri in her losing her life, I thought was a bit of a weak element to the story in terms of the writing aspect, because it did basically signal that Bam was going to win, because they can't kill off a Princess of Jihad just like this. So from that moment, it was a little bit predictable in terms of the end result, but the train administrator was a pain in the backside, and of course that bet being laid out also laid idea to the fact that there was a plan in place to kind of help sway the outcome of each round in Hoaqin's favour. Again, building up tension and adding an air of what's he planning to the story. It's somewhat going to hurt me to say this, but Yuri just showed why she is indeed the best girl within the tower in this story arc. I couldn't falter at all. Sorry, Dorsey. Sorry, Yeon. But this character, she's got you beat at the moment in time. Let's go, Yuri Jihad. Lastly, let's talk about Bam's character. Bam's growth was very respectable in this arc, and showing off his new and improved plethora of skills and finding a new reason to climb the tower which doesn't involve Rachel. He wishes to resolve the problems of Thug and all the while finding a way to stop this cycle of resentment and hatred between Jihad, the 10 Grey households, plus Thug from the common people, as it's the common people that have first-hand felt the effects of all the participants involved and their actions. Bam overall showed a lot more maturity within these arcs, making me respect and like him a lot more, but slowly but surely he is making progress as a character in thinking of other people around him and keeping his friends a bit safer than he did previously. He's taken the guide's comments from the last arc to heart and is putting them into practice, making it show off that he is understanding what he's been told, what hard facts and evidence has been presented against him, saying that he is putting his friends in danger because of his selfishness, and then kind of working towards building and repairing that problem inside of his own personality. I say it's very slow, because Bam was very lucky to still have all of his friends alive after the final round of the games, as he opted to save Hoaqin's teammates, which again put his friends at more risk because they were running out of dollar toward the end. Luckily it worked out okay for Bam because he got an extra power boost, but he almost lost one of his teammates in the process because he couldn't let go and let Hoaqin's teammates die. Now, I don't expect Bam to let Hoaqin's teammates die because that would be completely different to the Bam that we know from the start of the series, because it's such a kind-hearted and gentle character. He wouldn't want anyone to die. Plus, again, a battle of ideals and beliefs. Bam believed that no one should die for a scumbag like Hoaqin. So that's why he wanted to protect everybody and tried to be that hero. I wasn't happy overall with the clone giving Bam part of her power so that Bam could win that final fight, especially when they mentioned the power disappeared at the end. However, it seems like he can call on that power again in the future, so that's not too bad, I guess. Still, a bit of a sour way to win a fight, but we can always go with round 4 of Hoaqin versus Bam, as both characters are still intertwined in the story and in the plot moving forward. So we are going to obviously see another confrontation between the two characters. Looking forward to it. Again, I guess the storyline here and what the message being presented was is that it's okay to lend your power to those who are morally good and willing to help other people before themselves. So that's why the clone helped Bam. She understood that, and she saw that Bam was willing to help other people instead of helping himself and just using the power that she would present to him in a negative light. Plus, of course, the power she presented was all the hatred and resentment towards Hoaqin. So it wasn't very likely that Hoaqin was going to use that power, if I'm perfectly honest. Overall, a jam-packed yet brilliant set of arcs from the Tower of God webtoon series with some mind-blowing artwork, brilliant character interactions, and an awkward cliffhanger in where we continue down this path with Wang Nang's team. One of them is going to die. But who will it be, I wonder? I honestly do not know, and I can't wait to find out who, if that does in fact come true. We're going to see Wang Nang agonizing over it, but I thought that, you know what, we need development for his character anyway, so let's see it, let's keep going, and let's see if we are going to get what is being teased. Talking about things that are being teased, are we getting Bam versus Ran soon? As Yuri was talking about wanting to test Bam to see if he's ready to go to the floor of death. And Evan says there's someone in the D rank that has just come up to the same floor that could be an excellent opponent. Next person we shot to after that line is of course Team Ran. That would be an awesome fight if we get to see it. Plus, what is up with Endorsi's school uniform? I mean, I guess she looks great, but it also makes me want to read more and find out what she's going to be up to moving forward. Because yeah, school uniform Endorsi, if they're all trying to take a test, I think that'll be quite comedic and quite fun at the same time. Now, before I go, I do just want to say one more thing. I've loved another thing that happens within this arc so much, and that is something I believe that needs a shout out. And that, of course, is the artwork that goes on the eyes of each character. Throughout the series, we've seen some fabulous designs for character and their eyes in particular. Some have been phenomenal, while others have been just okay to meh, but I do want to ask this question. From within the series, who do you think has the best set of eyes? Personally speaking, if I was to answer that question, I would say either Angel or the Train Administrator. I think both sets of those eyes are they're just something else. I think they look perfectly designed. Plus, when I was reading the webtoon series on my mobile app, some of the times you have the page looking very dark, but then the eyes would just glow through. That was very sinister, very menacing, and a great addition to something that I was reading the experience of the Tower of God on. So a big thank you if you made it this far to the video. I do have to say that I know it's been a long one, but I'm so grateful that you've enjoyed the video enough to stay this long. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're new for more content from me in the future, and let me know your thoughts on this chapter down below. I know I probably missed quite a few things out. If I have, and they're really, really important, let me know, and I'll be sure to make a follow-up video, or to just have a conversation and a chat with you about it and give you my thoughts that way. But other than that, I hope you have an amazing day. Alligator, matane, goodbye.